Ah, okay, so welcome back to Q&A if you're watching this not live. And I don't know, it'd be interesting to get a little bit of feedback sometime if people enjoy watching these. I notice quite a few people watch them afterwards. I often watch live videos afterwards. Sorry, and this cup of tea. Sometimes just to kind of have a little bit playing in the background, talking about some subject I'm interested in, and it's kind of a nice way, quite easy to catch up with a certain subject. So I've been, I enjoy listening to live videos afterwards sometimes. And they're sometimes recorded in the States or Southeast Asia, or there's one guy I follow who's in Vietnam a lot, and it's kind of nice to have a little catch up, just listening to what he's talking about. Anyway, I'm enjoying my YouTube channel, and it's kind of slowly creeping towards about 1,000 subscribers. This one's just going to be till about half past. Get some food or make some food with my girlfriend, and she's kind of hungry. I'm busy in my own practice at the moment. Annoying pop-ups coming. Busy in my own bioenergetic program workout these days with the belly still, and feeling like I'm still getting so much from that, and it's kind of a new practice for me. I started around November. Before that, I was into the cold training and doing that in the early mornings, and the belly thing is really, I don't know, it's slowly giving me more and more. I feel like I'm clearing up old stuff around, I don't know, having such a jumpy mind, being kind of reactive, and just getting slowly, bit by bit. Every morning trying to do an hour, but maybe half an hour to an hour with the gut and these workouts I've developed. Oh, Luigi, hello, man. Hope you're doing good. How's things down in Are you still in Christchurch? Or maybe you don't want me putting out your location on live stream. Fair enough. If not, but anyway, I'm really enjoying doing this. I don't know if enjoy is quite the right word, but I feel this belly practice is a long, slow thing that goes progressively deeper into the kind of what Arthur Yanoff, a very famous therapist back in the 70s and 80s, called the primal knot, this primal bore of tension around our sort of belly center. And it feels like a good, progressive, slow way to just move into that, just to clear up all sorts of stuff I hadn't really cleared up, or hadn't found an easy access way in. I'm 57 years old, and like, even if you're in your 20s still, it can still take, the body and the mind can still have established a lot of patterns, and it isn't necessarily easy to get in there, to get right in there and be able to kind of unravel stuff. Because the thing with bioenergetics is you're bringing yourself back to the unconditioned state, roughly, in a sense. The time before, you got the trauma, bring you back to your healthy personality now. Your healthy personality that hasn't been corrupted and twisted around, because you're taking the effects out of the body, you can take the effects out of the mind, the effects of trauma and conditioning, and then you come back to a kind of natural personality. But the issue is often, still often that, after all these years of conditioning, how do you get in there and change things? And then there's a lot of techniques working to change the mind and the thinking patterns, and those are all very well and good, and a lot of us have done that stuff. And then you try and stay positive, but you notice a little way down the line, all the old negativity and patterns are still kind of running, and it's not easy to just detach from them. If you do satsang or deep meditation, they tell you to just detach, but they don't really get so detached from. And so working with the body in this slow, progressive way with bioenergetics is a really great way to really clear it all out bit by bit, until you kind of, what I find is I progressively develop a kind of inner being where I'm more inside myself, and I can kind of really choose which doorway I want to come out of. And I'm still on that journey completely. Sometimes people say, well, don't you have to complete your own journey before you can teach anyone? But I never met a teacher who I considered authentic and real and respected who said they were complete. It's not like this. You do a certain amount, and then you feel confident to teach for other people if you want to teach other people, lead sessions, and you just go for it and just be open to taking feedback and see what you need. The bottom line always is summed up by that Nike logo for me. The bottom line is just do it. Keep getting up, keep doing stuff. I did a lot of group therapy, which was excellent and really, you know, it was wonderful working as part of a group, being in a constant feedback loop, endlessly having to reflect on myself. But I see what I didn't totally get from that was the capacity to really step up on my own and take a position and move forwards. And that is where often, people need support, or the people that do it somewhere are a little bit fake sometimes. It's like sometimes the American approach can be, yeah, everything looks really, really great on the surface, but there's not much substance underneath. And we're still being attracted somewhere to images of who we think we should be, which is okay. But those kind of teachers are not necessarily offering, something that goes really deep always. And I think it's kind of tragic that many of the more deep people around, they get a little bit bogged down in their own negativity. They're very authentic, but they don't quite step up to really put their vision out in the world. And I think this is what needs to come. It's the time of the ordinary person, man or woman, to step up and start teaching a bit and to go deeper, rather than just people who are kind of to go out and teach. Because there's a depth that comes when someone who's really authentic, who's really been through the mill of life, relationships and breakups and trauma and conditioning. When you come out of that and you start to teach, it's deep. He's like wearing Rockaware off eBay for a fiver. No. Suffering is growth. Yeah, absolutely, man. And what I'm saying is like, it's a time when, ordinary people, or so-called ordinary people, it's good for them to get up and teach, get up and do stuff and move, and not look too much to TV to have all these kind of, people who look really fabulous on the surface, but probably a bit superficial underneath. I rate your videos lately. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm kind of busy trying to understand what's out there with video and with internet. What can be done to support people more that doesn't require endless constant energy from me, but that can create a group of people worldwide who can support each other in some way to go deeper without the normal kind of thing. Okay, everyone's got to go to a group located here, which is obviously not so easy if you're spread out around the world. Luigi, can you suggest a workout for sleep issues? Just carry on with trio, but sleep issues, that's good. So I assume by sleep issues you mean not being able to sleep. And I'd done a video on that about a year back, which was quite popular. And I looked at the two classic community a long time, in fact 16 years earlier this week. It's my anniversary. I noticed two classic types of sleeplessness that people would go through. One is a kind of, I've got to remember them now. One is a kind of sentinel effect, where it's like there's a sense that it's not quite safe to just go to sleep and switch off. Sentinel effect where it's pixelated and laggy. It might be my Wi-Fi. I don't quite know how to change this stuff. My phone is also a bit shit. Lower bitrate. I don't know if I can do that in a live stream, but I need to look. I'm trying to get my phone sorted. Yeah. It's a drag. I'm trying to get my phone sorted next week because there seems to be something a bit funny with it. Can bioenergetics help with fear of public speaking? Just to get back to Luigi briefly, hopefully you can see me. I go to sleep, takes a long time to get back to sleep. That sounds to me like a type of sleeplessness where the energy's got a bit stuck in the head. And anything you can do to open your throat will usually bring the awareness back in the body and a relaxation comes. So basically, you know, what I would recommend is to sit up and actually do some gag reflexes or anything to open the throat. You know, can be a bit of a drag if you've got a partner, they can get the hump. But often I used to do that and I still do it. You know, sometimes wake up, try and open the throat in some way, like 2 fingers tickling the tonsils down the back there. And you don't have to throw up, but just get that gag reflex going 5 or 6 times and see if it brings the awareness back in the body. This is a classic pattern of sleeplessness for people on a developmental journey also, that you sleep good for 3 or 4 hours and then you wake for 1 or 2, and you know, just as you get back to sleep, it's time to bloody get up for work or something like that. So that's what I would recommend. Give it a try. Get back to me next time, Luigi. Hopefully you could hear that okay. A lot of live streamers experience same issues at first and they fix on error. I need to look into that. If you're a kind of tech guy, Grizz, then just send me a link sometime. Devaraj227@gmail.com or something how I can do that stuff. I use my phone because I tried to install something on my laptop to do the live streaming, but it just didn't seem to work, basically. Is lack of sleep bad health? I mean, I went on very little sleep for a long time when I started doing therapy, and the groups I was going to also were like, you know, you just didn't fucking sleep because they wanted your shit to come up, because when you don't sleep, all your psychological issues come to the surface. We suppress a lot through sleep. And so for a long time I would have said it's fine not to sleep so much, but these days I think it's good to get you know, have the option. Yeah, sometimes just get 4 or 5 hours sleep and move your energy. You know, don't just sit in a haze all day, but move your energy, because with bioenergetics, everything's close to the surface. When I run weekend workshops, I often keep the sleep down to 5 or 6 hours, because it gets the stuff. You get more value for money. Your stuff is nearer the surface. At an ego level, you might have a hump that you haven't got enough sleep, but the stuff is nearer us. So when you go into release, more comes out. More comes out. But generally, I think not getting much sleep for a long time is not good for you, and it makes it a bit hard. It makes you a bit submissive sometimes in a job. You know, I think that can happen for some people, that they really want to get out of the job they've got, but they're kind of in this sleep deficit, and it doesn't support them to get out, to get their shit together. Throat chakra, exactly. I'll contact you to have some insight on live streaming. Thank you, man. Thank you very much. Okay, cool. I think I'm up to date with the messages. Yeah, sleep. So try, Luigi, give it a try with this kind of throat opening thing. Did someone else ask me something back here? Can it help with fear of public speaking? Yes. I mean, generally, let's see, fear of public speaking. Anything you can do to work with anger usually is good. Actually expressing anger, and by that I mean more in a group room setting, ideally like with someone trained to hold the space. Or I've got a few exercises that you can do on my website or on a YouTube channel. Look out for something called Dragon's Breath, which is opening the throat center. This is essentially in kind of esoteric terms what you need to do: get the throat open. And so, like, a principle in this kind of therapy is to do it in the group room. By that I mean in a workshop setting, as extreme as you can, because then when you're out in the world, you know, to take less extreme action will be easier. You know, the more you can push the frontiers of your comfort zone back, forwards, out of you, you know, like your comfort zone is here, you go into a workshop and you bring it out to here for a while, then when you go out into the world, you'll feel more comfortable to go out to here. That's the kind of principle as I understand it. And so, you know, workshops are great, or otherwise stuff you can do to really open the throat and express a lot of sound, Johnny. That generally will be useful with public speaking. Anything held around the throat, gag reflex is a much underrated thing. In our culture, it's not cool to do gag reflex, or people are very trippy about it. And if you have a history of certain type of eating disorder, it may not be a good idea to do it. But otherwise, it's a great way to open up the throat. You don't need to make yourself puke. You just need to get that gag going. You know it, that kind of movement in the throat. Let's just check in what's happening here. Yeah, it's normal. In some esoteric schools of philosophy and stuff, they say the throat is like the governor of the chakras. It regulates the flow of energy through all the others. And I think it's true, roughly. When you can really get your throat open, and this belly workout helps as well with the throat. When you get your throat open and you feel okay to really express, you just feel more naturally alive and exuberant. And you feel like, hey, it's really okay to be me. There's a lot of fear around opening the throat, and a lot of it comes from parental conditioning. A lot of it comes from teachers putting us down when we were at a very vulnerable age, When our mind is new and young and receptive and we're just little kids, it's real easy to get a lot of shit information come in, So many stories about bad music teachers telling people they can't sing, and then, they just, when your mind is like 7 or 8 years old, it just internalizes that. I can't sing, freezes, never sings, could be a fantastic singer there. Never gets to do it because the mind just assumes I can't sing. And, we can complain about the teachers or the parents, but then we disempower ourselves. So, it's easy to say, well, those fucking teachers always never told me, they kept me frozen and held down. And you can do it in the group room if you really want to scream at the teachers or your parents. That's good. But to carry the story around in your mind, but, the fact that you don't really open because of the teachers or the parents is not beneficial. It's not giving you anything except, reducing your own internal pressure to change. And you need the internal pressure to change because change is good. Anyway, yeah. Public speaking, it's great to be able to speak out. If you're at all able to get to the UK, man, Johnny, then also, Dragon's Breath is good. That's a good one. I won't do it right live here, unless it scares anybody. But, it's like, also we run a workshop here, a 7-day intensive called the Total Life Change. And that is like, that will get you come saying you're afraid of public speaking, you'll move out of that. You'll make a lot of progress. It's an excellent workshop. It runs 4 times a year here at Osho Lila. You can message me privately or something like that, and I'll send you a link, or just look up Osho Lila Total Life Change or Total Life Change Devaraj. You'll probably find it. I co-lead that. It's a 7-day intensive. Costs £500. I'll let you know in advance. That's fully residential, so you don't have to pay anything on top of that. Northern Ireland, not so far away. We're quite close to Bristol Airport or Southampton or Exeter. Or a lot of people fly into London and just get the train. Yeah. I was saying today in a video, there's 3 things you need, to keep moving. And one is, you got to get self-awareness. So you're looking, okay, what's an issue for me? Where do I get triggered? Where do I go into defensive behavior? That looking is essential. There's a workshop called Awareness Intensive, or Who Is In, it's sometimes called Enlightenment Intensive, was an old name for it. And that really establishes this inner looking. But you can do it without that, but that really gets you in the habit of it, because you have to just do it for 3 days and it drives you fucking nuts at first. But that's a great process to get into self-awareness. It's not a mystical thing, it's just being able to look inside and say, okay, what's going on with me? Second thing is to be going to workshops sometimes so that you get fresh input. You're not just working with yourself. And the third thing is to develop a daily practice. Bioenergetics is ideal. Emotional expression is a little bit tricky because it's a lot of noise. And not only places. Vatican School, yeah. You're at school by the Vatican, Catholic Church, yeah. Well, there's some classic stuff for Catholics guilt is the main thing that the Catholics like to lay on you, Original sin. We're coming up to Easter, so it was a little discussion in tea break today about Easter, and original sin, and Jesus died for your sins. And I just look back, to my childhood, and the kind of the school thing around Easter was always pretty dark. It was a lot of guilt. And I wasn't a Catholic. I was C of E, Protestant. But the basic fact was, and I wasn't in a religious background. Parents weren't super religious, regular middle class Christians or whatever, and like go to school once a year, you know. But nevertheless, Christmas was kind of exciting, but Easter was surrounded by a lot of doom and negativity. And originally, of course, Easter is a huge fertility festival. It's a time when all of creation is shagging away like crazy, you know. And this is essentially what it really was. Okay, because along Scotland here. Okay, also not so far away. It's cool. It's good to know where people come from. Sometimes I like to see Ramon. I think, oh, that guy's probably in Mexico or something like that. But you're in Northern Ireland, cool, and you're in Scotland, cool. We get quite a few Scottish people down at the community. There's a little gang somewhere around Edinburgh, I think, that come down here. Do you use any natural nootropics, brahmic herbs, or anything like that? No. I used to be a bit into the drugs, you know, stuff like heavier stuff like ayahuasca and iboga. I was quite into for a while, 20 odd years ago. Not much, and I don't know much about nootropics either. It's more I'm more into the therapy these days. I also took a lot of ecstasy back in the old days, you know, as you do, and that actually turned me onto therapy really, because I just thought my negative self-image and my kind of nasty behavior and crime and drugs and stuff from before, I just thought I had no chance and I could just, you know, make the best, just try and get through life really. And when I started taking in the 90s, I saw another side of myself, like I could be loving and caring. I would ring up my mum, adoptive mum, and tell her how much I loved her and stuff on E. And I'd never done anything like that before, you know. And then I started to think, well, maybe I could get it from therapy. So that's my only drug kind of really experienced, and I don't take that anymore. Yeah, the Romans take over history. Yeah, people that write history always, you know, the people that win battles get to write history. But the thing to do always is not to get, because there's a lot of people out there who make excuses for why they are the way they are, and like this, you get stuck. Like this, you get stuck. In the group room, it can be good to really to stick it out. You know, when I'm running an emotional release session, if you're pissed off with your parents, go into that space and really stick it out on them. You know, in the group room. I mean, not your actual parents who probably won't be in there, but other people that you allow to represent them. And but otherwise, don't go around through life blaming too much other people for why you are this way. You know, I see a lot of young men, and I was like this as well in my 30s, caught up in the conspiracy scene, and it's all to do with the Jews, the Illuminati, the bankers, Area 51. You know, at the end of the day, it's a fucking excuse as well why people don't really step up. And, you know, there may well be Illuminati, and for all I know, people do control the banking system or whatever. But, you know, don't get too stuck in that blaming thing, because it's an escape route as well as to why you don't step up. So that's what I have to say about that. Luke, hi Luke. I'm a rock climber and wondering if bungee would increase muscle strength, endurance, along with flexibility. I mean, people often ask me about the physical effects of bioenergetics, but I find it's more psychological and feeling inside myself, you know, which I didn't really get. And I was never a huge gym person, and never big into yoga, though I do a bit of both. But I don't know. I mean, the best thing, groundedness. I don't know the physical effects. I mean, some exercises certainly work the muscles a lot. Basically, what you've got is the muscles that have got a bad pattern in them. This is what bioenergetic helps with, where old emotions have been trapped, or it seems that way, you know, in the mind-body connection. And that you can't easily access with yoga. You can't easily access with going to the gym and working out. You know, you can get your energy moving, you can get your body flexible, but the patterns tend to hold into the muscles until you do something specifically aimed at getting them out. And some forms of yoga do that a bit, but bioenergetics is specifically focusing on that, getting the effects of trauma and conditioning out of the body. Simple as that. So I'd love to hear if you do some stuff, Luke, and go rock climbing and see if you feel more flexibility. I reckon you definitely get more flexibility. But anything else be good to hear about? Cover up misleading public, bigger spectrum is very good and evil always will be. Yeah, man. And, you know, good and evil about it are just mental judgments at the end of the day. Some things we universally see as bad, pretty much, you know, wars, or not everyone sees that, but certain types of abuse. Anyway, stretching naturally by makes full sense to me. Yeah, cool, man. Whenever I do bioenergetics and rest afterwards, I experience muscle twitching and tremors through the body. That's a release. That's a release from the muscles. It's clear that they're wanting to let stuff out. They're wanting to let stuff out. That's a healthy sign, basically. And there's stuff you can do to even try and increase the amount of muscle movement, or spontaneous, natural, not mind directed, not ego directed muscle movement during the sessions. And that main thing is to put yourself on the edge, right on the edge of a comfort zone with some positions like the arch position. I've got videos talking about that. But the significance to me, it sounds like a release, unless you've got a history of some neurological condition or something like that. I wouldn't be too concerned about it. I would just say the muscles spontaneously starting to release, and it's happening a little bit after the session. After the session, I think it's a good thing. Okay, guys, so I'm just going to do another 4 minutes today. It's a bit of a short one, and I'll start up with that. Every negative, positive. Magnesium deficiency. Yeah, I heard a lot about that a few years ago, 5 years ago. Everyone was really into magnesium deficiency. And I took some magnesium once, and it didn't seem to do much for me. So I figured maybe my muscles were okay without it. But I still meet people who say, fucking hell, I took some magnesium, that foamy, the fizzy one, from Sultan or Solgar, I think it is, yeah. And, it fizzed up, and I took it, and I just felt like, whoa, my muscles are totally better. So I think it's something to try. I never experienced it without doing bio first. Yeah, well, that's a sign that, to me, that, that your muscles are trying to release stuff. So it's good. It's basically a good thing. Especially if it feels like something's been released afterwards. So I was in a float tank yesterday and having leg twitches. Head saying probably it's a little autocorrect thing going on there. But yeah, the body will release. You've got to understand the muscle system is like a coiled up fucking spring that the mind has got, the mind has got our muscle system in this tense knot most of the time, like a kind of, a hose, high pressure hose. And also you've got your thumb on the end and you let it go and it just goes all over the fucking place. That is basically the system with the mind and the body. That's the reality of it. It doesn't look like that. It looks like the body is really cool and we're holding it a certain way. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're holding it a certain way. And, it needs to, it just wants to have its chance to fucking let go. But there's such a mental holding going on. It takes a while, And then this twitching and spasming is signs that the release is happening naturally, because the release will happen naturally. If you look at animals who don't have this kind of very strong prefrontal cortex, like pretty much every fucking animal basically, then they will easily go into shaking when they're afraid, when the body needs to release, just starts to shake, or they just start to make sound, or their natural movements. You can see there's body is behind everything they do. It's like that every cell of their body is moving in that direction. There's a natural fluidity. It's rare, but it's a powerful quality when you see it, And this, these twitches or, spasming in the muscles is happening because the body's starting to try and release itself. It's starting to really try and release. Okay, well, we've got a couple of minutes left. If anyone's got a last question, thank you for tuning in, guys. And just go for the last question. I haven't put up a date for next week. I think I'm going to do Easter Saturday, 6 p.m. because I'm pretty sure I'm here. With a bit of luck, I got the phone more. If my phone's not been repaired or I haven't got a new phone, then I'll leave a message that it's not happening. I got a website, Devaraj.org UK, you can check out. And on there's a page with live YouTube dates. And when I get this shit a bit more sorted out, I will be doing some live sessions at 7 o'clock in the morning, at least one a week, for people who want to join in or come along later. Okay, guys, that's it from me for today. Over and out. And remember, you can do it. You can do it. Cheers.